This is Financially Fit Radio with Cory Sickles from Safe Harbor Wealth Advisors. Retirement isn't just about saving, it's about having a strategy that helps you navigate market ups and downs, combat inflation, and secure the future you deserve. That's why Financially Fit Radio is here to tackle your biggest financial concerns, share actionable strategies, and help you move toward your retirement goals with confidence. And now, here's Financially Fit Radio with Cory Sickles.
Welcome back to another episode of Financially Fit Radio. I'm Cory Sickles with Safe Harbor Wealth Advisors. If you'd like any information that we discuss on today's show, don't hesitate to reach out to us. You can simply give us a call at 614-760-0670, or you can always visit us online at safeharboroh.com. While you're on our website, feel free to check out our radio page. You can catch up on previous episodes. You can also easily subscribe to our podcast platforms such as Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, or Spotify. Also, feel free to watch today's show on our YouTube channel. Just type in Safe Harbor Wealth Advisors. You can go to the Financially Fit Radio playlist. You can also make sure that you also subscribe to our YouTube channel. So you can be kept up to date with all of our different types of short videos that we put out. We put about 3 or 4 different videos out a week on different type of financial topics. Well, today we're going to talk about really one of the best things that when I talk to clients, one of the best things the thing that they love more than anything else is being a grandparent. But what I really want to talk about is how can you actually, be a great, grandparent without, breaking that bank, or you're taking money out of your retirement savings in order to make everyone happy. But before we dive into that, let me introduce to you my co-host this week and every week, and that's Tony Shore. Tony, how are you today?
I am doing great. Thank you for having me on the show, Cory. I'm excited about this one. This is going to be a good show. We've got a lot to talk about today. There's a lot going on. I've had a great weekend. My wife is back in town. She was gone for 10 days. So, and as you guys know, that laundry isn't going to fold itself. So I'm glad wait a minute. Hopefully she's not listening to this. That was just a joke now.
Yep. So she went to Dubai.
She went to Dubai. Yeah. And she sent me videos. She FaceTimed me from over there. That place, it's like a futuristic city. It's like a cross between, Fifth Element, Blade Runner, but just lights everywhere, super tall buildings, and it's super clean. You won't see any trash anywhere. Somebody she was with was walking down the street in Dubai, and a water bottle fell out of his backpack, and they gave him a fine. Somebody just came up to him and wrote him a ticket because there's people
pick it up
all over.
He didn't know that it fell.
He didn't know that it fell. They picked it up and handed it to him, and then handed him a ticket, and it was like a $50 fine.
Wow.
You can't leave anything on it's really clean over there. But she was there for work, but she also got to do some fun things. But that city looks amazing. Like, it's very futuristic. And they're going to have air tax. They say by 2028, they'll have air taxis. And they were showing a video of the air taxis, and she went into this science museum where they have a couple of the air taxis that will be used, and they look like giant drones that you see with the 4 blades. Yeah,
it's kind of like some of those movies, futuristic movies you see where they're flying around.
Yeah, that place is incredible. And there's a gold bar vending machine where you can literally buy gold bars. They're like 4 inches by 3 inches. You know, so it's not like the big ones you see in the movies, the big bricks. But yeah, isn't that crazy?
If we had those over here, there'd be so many. That's one of the most common questions I get from clients, Tony, is, should I buy, physical pieces of gold?
Yeah, I know.
They sold those in Kroger or Giant Eagle or somewhere around here in grocery stores. People would be buying them.
They would be. And people think, if the market crashes, I need gold, or the dollar goes down, I need gold. You're going to buy a gallon of gas. You're going to shave off some gold for some gas or a piece of bread. It doesn't make that doesn't really make sense to me. I don't think that's going to work. But at any rate, that's how I've been. How about you, Cory? How have you been?
Been good. Had a good weekend. Man, I can't believe how good the weather is up here in October.
Isn't it amazing? I mean, it's just been unbelievable for this late in the year. It's so nice. And Joe is with us.
Which probably means it's just going to get cold really quick.
That's what I've heard.
Yep.
That's what I've heard. We're probably just putting off the inevitable, and it'll be worse. But Joe, how have you been?
Same. The weather, here last month for October and late September has just been unseasonably warm. Of course, we're dry. We need some rain.
Sure.
But it's, I'll take it.
Yep.
Yep.
This week is the week where annual enrollment for Medicare starts. And Joe, what I really kind of thought we would talk about today is really, what kind of is the process, if someone wants to just get their Medicare reviewed. And my first question would be is, how much is it going to cost anyone that wants to kind of go through the process?
So anybody that wants to go through the process, it's not going to cost anything. It's everything with Medicare that we do is complimentary. So, it starts with that phone call or reach out through on the website to us.
Yes. So once they do contact us, what do they have to do in order, to get that annual review?
So the way that I find that it's easiest to help somebody, I have a form that I send out electronically. It's essentially just a PDF form that you can fill out. That's going to collect the doctors that you see, their names. It's going to collect some information on your prescriptions and how those prescriptions are being filled, and the way that you take them. You can save that PDF, send it back to me in an email. And then what I do is I do some legwork, kind of behind the scenes before the client and I really have some in-depth conversations. So I'm going to take that information. I'm going to run it through some quoting softwares that I use. I'm going to check some things online through the different insurance carriers, maybe run some things through Medicare.gov. I'm going to compile some information and put some, like a review together essentially. And then we'll set up a time to talk about it, discuss, or potentially come into the office. We handle things a lot. A lot of the reviews that I'm going to be doing this year will be through Zoom call and just email. But there are some individuals that want to come in and have a one-on-one conversation, and we're happy to accommodate that and have you in the office and go over that review for you and see what the coverage or what things can potentially look like or estimate cost for 2026.
Do you have just out of curiosity, do you have when someone goes through the process, do you know what average savings is and why that's important for someone to go through a review?
To put a number on it's kind of hard. I mean, I can think of stories where, we've talked to clients, and have saved them, $1,000 a year in premiums, on supplemental coverage because they're just been in a plan that's been, that's been in the market for years and years and years, and they've never done a review on that. And then there's sometimes with the prescriptions, you might, because of old plans or things that people were doing, you might have a savings of $500 to $1,000 a year. So an average number, it's kind of situational, but I would say, probably around that $500, just because there's so many different things out there and things change every year. And when, you just let it renew every year and just, kind of eat the cost or, just forget about it and just let it renew, and you just pay what the pharmacy is charging you or what your doctors are charging you. There is potential savings there for an individual.
And I think it's just kind of like the financial side that we always talk about. It's always good to get a second opinion. Worst case scenario, your plan's awesome and there's no changes that need to be done, or you might go through the process and you might get some savings on, if you're on a supplement, you might get some savings there on your monthly premiums, or I think the real savings really comes in on the prescription side of it, which is why it's so important in order to get that reviewed every year.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, not to go into a rabbit hole here, but just a perfect example, a client that we're working with right now, for her, her prescription drug plan is being eliminated. Had that plan not be eliminated, she's going to continue to just stay in that plan year after year after year. And just, a 10-minute review with her is going to save her $60 a month just on her premium alone with that plan. And it's just as simple as, reach out to us. And like Cory said, best case scenario or even worst case scenario, you're in the plan that fits your needs going into the year, and that, and you don't have to worry about, should I have done something, after that point where it's too late.
Yeah. So, for our listeners, and if you're watching on our YouTube channel, give us a call, give Joe a call at 614-760-0670. You can always visit us, online at safeharboroh.com, or you can email Joe directly at medicare@safeharboroh.com as well. So, Joe, thanks for having us on, and good luck to annual enrollment period here.
Yeah, thank you.
You're going to be busy.
Yeah, we are. That's a busy time. Yep.
Thanks, Joe.
Thank you.
All right. Well, we're talking about how to be a generous grandparent without breaking the bank. That seems to be a good topic for today, Cory. Where do you want to start?
The one thing I want to do is I was reading an article, from Kiplinger.
Yep.
And the study was, how much do, grandparents actually spend on their grandchildren? And a 2024 survey found that 96% of grandparents incur some cost supporting their grandchildren. The average cost is $3,948 per year. And another interesting fact, Tony, is about 10% of grandparents reported spending over $10,000 or more in a given year as well. And, when we started to think about, what kind of cost are grandparents actually, where's this money going? Obviously, one's gifts, whether it's birthdays, holidays, special occasions. But it could also be clothing, whether it's shoes, toys, entertainment. Maybe it's even meals out. Travel, I mean, that's probably a big one. If the grandkids live out of town, now you have airfare and possibly lodging, or if you're driving, it could be gas as well. One thing you kind of get into is some of the other things that could be on a daily, not a day, but it could be a day-to-day support basis too, Tony. Whether it's groceries, it could be even utilities. Maybe you're doing something for housing support. Obviously, if the kids are in school, it could be education assistance. You might be able to even help them with a car, a down payment on a house. It could end up being health insurance contributions, on for their grandchildren, babysitting, childcare. So there's a lot of expenses that actually grandparents could spending a lot of money on. And the big question, Tony, is where's that money coming from? Is it coming from your retirement savings? So you really have to be aware of how much money you're truly spending on your grandchildren, because if you're not watching it, then your own financial security could be at risk, right? Whether you're taking money from retirement accounts, maybe you're actually co-signing for a loan with them. So it's really important to be able to make sure that you have the right type of balance, that you're not overspending, because you have to always make sure that the money's going to be there when you need it as well, Tony.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the key. It's like that airline analogy that we always talk about when the flight attendant says, hey, in case of emergency, when the oxygen masks drop, they tell you as a parent and adult, you always put your mask on first before you help your kids. And that's the same theory and reasoning here is you have to be able to help yourself before you can help others. Because in this case, you're not going to be around or be able to help them if you don't have your own income secure. I mean, it's important. We all want to do things. It's human nature to want to spend our money and take care of our kids and grandkids. And there's nothing wrong with that. And putting others first is honorable. However, in this case, you have to make sure you're financially secure before you're able to do that, right?
That's exactly right. And if you really think about it, Tony, I mean, we talk about the oxygen mask. Really what we're talking about is you really need to make sure that you're protecting your own foundation, right? and that finance, that foundation, is basically your savings, right? You might actually, there's two situations. You might actually be working, or you might be retired. So if you are working, you still want to make sure that you're continuing to contribute, whether it's to an IRA, Roth 401k, or a Roth account in general. But you need to make sure that you're still saving if you're currently working. You also want to make sure that you have that emergency fund in place. We always talk about that. You want to have anywhere from 6 to 12 months of your living expenses in liquid assets, in case you lose a job, or in case something happens. Maybe you lose a spouse, if you are retired. And the other part of it is, we talk about your foundation also, is you also want to make sure that you have the right insurance coverage, healthcare coverage as well, Tony. We just talked about Medicare.
Oh,
so
the costs are expensive. Yeah.
It's expensive. Here's the nice part. We just talked, with Joe a minute ago, and he said, hey, you might be able to say you save between $5,000 to $1,000 a year just by reviewing your Medicare. Well, you're saving it, but maybe that's $500 you can actually give to your grandkids because you did save it.
Well, yeah, and that's great. And that's a great way to look at it. In other words, budget for it, right? Like a plan on the spending. If you're going to take the grandkids to Disney World, you got to make sure that's in your budget. Talk to a financial advisor and say, hey, can I do this? And I want to plan ahead or save for it, right?
That's exactly right. So in the budget could be a couple things. The budget might end up being for a trip, right? Mm-hmm. And when I talk with clients, a lot of times when we put together an income plan when they're retired, part of that monthly income should be your travel budget. You shouldn't have to keep coming back and say, hey, I need an extra $5,000, or I need another $10,000 because I want to be able to go on this trip. You should be able to save for that on an annual basis by the amount of income that you are generating in retirement. So you budget for it, whether it's a trip, or maybe it's gifts, or maybe it's support. If you're actually providing money to your grandchildren, or even to your child, on a monthly basis, that needs to be part of your budget. To be able to allow a financial advisor to see whether or not you're going to have issues later on in life, about outliving your money. Yeah. And here's the one thing, right? I know it's tough to say no when they do ask for it, but sometimes you might have to be able to provide some type of advice or non-financial help, where you can allow them, educate them on maybe what that particular issue is. Just don't always give in by giving the easy answer, and the easy answer is just to give them money. So you want to be able to educate them. That's a teachable moment as well, right, Tony?
Yeah.
So you're actually trying to, you're trying to be able to help them out still, but maybe some of that advice that you've learned over the past is something that you should really think about. And I know we all like to be able to, spoil your grandkids, right, with toys and things like that as well. But it might make sense, especially if they're young, instead of always giving them toys or doing that type of stuff. Maybe you're actually going to contribute to their education, their future education, by maybe putting money in a 529 plan or something like that as well.
Yeah. Yeah, save for their future. And I think it's good to teach them the value of money rather than just buying them things or toys that they might forget. Teach them the value of money. I know, and speaking of spoiling kids, I just think about my own parents when my kids were little, how they spoiled my children. Oh, and we would go out to the farm where they lived. I'd bring my 3 little kids out there, and my mom would have all these donuts. She'd let them eat donuts all day long. And I'm like, Mom, when I was their age, you would never let me eat donuts, and especially all day long. We never had donuts. You'd never let me eat donuts after lunch or before lunch. And she goes, yeah, what's your point? These aren't my children. She said, I'll let them eat donuts.
Yeah. If you were a favorite child, Tony, and I don't know whether you were or not.
I was an only child, so yes.
Yeah, you're your favorite child, right? But as soon as you have that first grandchild, you're number 2.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. That's a good point, Corey. You
You're
are
number
number two.
two because there's nothing better than being a grandparent. When you watch them on a Friday night, knowing that, I'm maybe taking them back Friday night or I'm taking them back on Saturday.
Yeah.
So then they're your issue, right?
Right.
Just like you just said, they'll spend the full day with them, get it all sugared up, and then they give them
Yep.
back to you that night and say, deal with it.
Exactly. Crazy.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, and what's something else we need to know? I mean, about being a generous grandparent.
The other thing is, I think you can just pass on your wisdom.
Mhm.
And really, obviously, there's all types of wisdom you can pass on, but the one I kind of want to talk about is from the financial standpoint, right? You want to be able to show the kids early that they should save. And one of the things that might happen, for an example, is maybe you're going to offer to match anything that they save for. Maybe they're doing chores, or maybe they're mowing lawns. At the end of the year or something like that, you can say, whatever you save for that year, I'll match that. It's a good learning experience. I'll show them, hey, you are working just like you're going to work the rest of your life at some point in time, but you do have to be able to save. And it's not so much, saving, but you can talk to them about, what do you want to buy? Maybe they want to buy games, or maybe they want to buy something, but show them the value of saving and how they can actually then use that money to do something they truly want to, spend money on.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. And I think that's a great point. Obviously, you want to be strategic. You want to make sure that you're doing it right. And, but it's fun spoiling the grandkids.
Sure. When we start talking, when we start talking about strategic, we talk about 529 plans, how you can actually contribute.
Yep.
You might get
Nice.
you might get some tax deductions on that as well. But the one thing I will also allow you I think people need to be aware of, is you can give up to $18,000 per year without triggering what we call a gift tax.
Oh,
So
wow.
you have an annual gift exclusion of $18,000 for 2025. So that's something to think about, where you can actually give that to them. I know a lot of my clients actually set up accounts. They contribute to them on a monthly basis, and usually, as that builds, they're going to give that to them when they either graduate from high school or they're going to graduate from college. So again, that's something that's in their budget. They're putting money in on a monthly basis. They're investing it, and at some point in time, they're going to be able to give that large amount of money that they've saved over those years, to their grandchildren at something. Again, you're giving it to them because they accomplished something, whether it's graduating from high school or graduating from college.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. And so, boy, there's a lot to think about, and a lot of grandparents out there spend a lot of money on grandkids. And so you got to be careful, don't you?
You do.
Yeah.
And again, the best thing that you can do, what I would say for anyone that's listening today that's a grandparent, is just budget for it.
Yeah.
Make sure that you know how much you're giving on an annual basis, and stick to that budget. I mean, there's a reason why you have a budget, especially if you're retired, because you are on a budget, and you want to make sure that that money that you're giving away is not going to take away from future issues or concerns that you might have with your retirement.
Yeah. There you go. Well, great topic today. Great, a lot to think about, especially if you're going to be a grandparent or are a grandparent. Some good words of wisdom there, but the key is work alongside a financial services professional like yourself. So, how can our listeners get a hold of you, Corey?
Yeah, for our listeners out there, just give us a call at 614-760-0670, or you can always visit us online at safeharboroh.com. And just remember, when you do schedule a meeting with us, all meetings are complimentary. There's no financial obligation. We can meet you at our Dublin office, our Easton office, or we can meet via phone. We can even have a discussion, a conference call, or we can always do a Zoom meeting as well. So we're here to truly help to make sure that you have the best retirement that you possibly can. And the best way to do that is to A, get a second opinion if you have a financial plan, or B, If you don't have a financial plan, you need to have one tomorrow.
All right. Well, hey, sounds great, Cory. Really appreciate this. And listeners, that does it for today's episode of Safe Harbor. I was going to say Safe Harbor OH, which is the web address.
Right.
That does it for today's episode of Financially Fit Radio with our host, Cory Sickles.
Thank you for joining us for Financially Fit Radio. Don't head into retirement without a strategy that addresses both income and taxes. For more information, please contact Cory Sickles at Safe Harbor Wealth Advisors at 614-760-0670 or visit safeharboroh.com now. Join us again soon for another episode of Financially Fit Radio.
Investment advisory services are offered by Safe Harbor Wealth Advisors, LLC, and SEC Investment Advisor. Insurance products and services are offered through Safe Harbor Retirement Group, LLC, an affiliated company. Safe Harbor Wealth Advisors, LLC, and Safe Harbor Retirement Group, LLC, are not affiliated with or endorsed by the Social Security Administration, the Federal Medicare Program, or any government agency. All matters discussed during the show are for informational purposes only. Each individual situation may vary, and the opinions expressed here may not apply to everyone. Materials presented are believed to be from reliable sources, and no representations can be made as to its accuracy. All ideas and information should be discussed in detail with one of our qualified representatives prior to implementation. Calling this number will direct you to a licensed sales agent.